Both you and I, we know that what you're saying is not really true, no? If you watch Transformer, you know what I'm talking about. The alien never really came and started marching on the street of New York like that. We know that it never happened. But we enjoy it. That is how we function, no? And if we create that story, take away the conflict, that story is going to be flat. Nobody's going to be interested. Because human being, we are not just born and we have everything just in front of us. The car just stack out for us. And you ask for A, you get A. You ask for B, you get B. No.
Our clients have an issue, they have conflict in their lives, and we don't want to see the pain that they have gone through because we feel for them. We feel sad for their difficulties that make life difficult for them. And I think that's where our pain gets in the way of realizing and remembering how important pain is for growth. Not that people should have to feel lots and lots of pain, but if you don't connect with pain, you don't connect with progress.
You want to attract your target market. You want to pique the interest of your target market. And that's where conflict comes into place. It's saying, I see you and I hear you. It's saying, I can 100% relate to what you're going through. And if I'm a customer, I want somebody who can handle the issues that I'm facing, whether it's little engagements, whether it's more sales. You want to hand over your business to somebody that you know is well equipped to help out with that.
Hi, I'm Obehi, the author of the storytelling series for small businesses and content creators. In Obehi Podcast, we talk about the power of your story, your narrative, and why you should own your voice. Whether you are a small business owner, a content entrepreneur, or you simply want to build your influence, storytelling is probably going to be your best instrument to connect with your audience. So join the awakened few who are owning their voices. Now let's get started with today's episode. All right, thank you, all of you. Thank you for joining me. I'm very happy. I'm always very pumped when I see a lot of people are coming here to share what we have to say. And I think it is really interesting. So I really thank all of you for that. Yes, maybe just one or two things about me because the thing is not going to be about me. It's about you, always about you, but so at least you know who is talking to you. My name is Obehi L14 and I'm from Nigeria, but I live in Italy, northern part of Italy, which is the city of Verona. Now, the conversation that we are having right now, which is storytelling, is coming from a research that I actually did in Verona about the presence of Africans in this part of the world. So when I came here in 2004, I sort of started to ask questions. Okay, let's say I'm a curious person. I'll be asking questions all my life. So I just love to do that. So I'll be asking questions like, who are the first Africans here? What have they been doing? What can I learn from them? What have been their trajectory, as it were? I sort of find it very interesting at the end of the day because the people that I was going to be asking questions about, I didn't even know them. But as I start to talk to one, that leads me to another, then to another, then to another. At the end of the day, we came up with something really very interesting. I created a documentary, actually two of them. With one, I won an award at the Verona International Film Festival. Then I wrote two books. From there, I created a podcast, the Obehi Podcast. And we have an e-learning platform called Aclasses Academy, where we teach people about businesses and business-related topics, particularly also storytelling. So all these are coming from just that initiative of trying to understand the story of people. Because the story actually overrules everything. It's the most powerful instrument that we have in the world. So, of course, I'm not going to go too much about that because, of course, we have the entire session for that about storytelling. We come here every now and then to talk about storytelling. But today we are talking about conflict. conflict is storytelling. Some people we shy away from the term conflict because, hey, conflict, how can you be talking of conflict? And even we dare to even talk about how to create conflict, particularly when we are in the area of storytelling, because it is very important. Without conflict, our story are going to be very boring. Nobody's going to read it because life is not without conflict. Life is full of conflict. So that at the end of the day, what is really important is not to live without conflict, is to know how to manage the conflict so that something good can come out of it. And storytelling is nothing more than trying to mimic what is the day-to-day life, what we do in our day-to-day life. We sort of try to recreate them in our story. After all, it's a narration of events that have happened or what can possibly happen. Yes, sometimes storytelling can also talk about what can possibly happen, even though it has not yet happened. And that is the power of storytelling. It's so immense and powerful. So, what is the importance of conflict in storytelling? Of course, these are some of the things that we are going to be understanding today. But like I just said, without story, without conflict in your story, it's going to be very boring. And if you are in business and what you are doing is just to tell people, I do this, I do that, without creating a narration around it, without helping the people to understand where you are coming from, what challenges that you have had in your life and how you have managed to overcome them, which is sort of your personal story to them, presenting yourself, presenting what you are offering, but presenting the obstacle that you have had. Because one of the things now that we see, particularly for coaches, is that when they deal with people that have problems, that want to overcome their problem, they usually sometimes say they are helping the people to get to a destination. That they take you from point A and they are getting you to point B. Some coaches will say, okay, I just help you to get there. It's not me, but sometimes actually they are the one that are doing that. But one thing I really want us to pay attention to is that between point A and point B, there is always something. And this is the way it is in natural life, in life. In that between point A and conflict, that is the obstacle. How do you overcome the obstacle so that you move from point A to point B? So that thing in the middle, sometimes we can also redesign it as a form of what is going to be the obstacle that you are having, that you are going to overcome at the end of the day. And that is very important. Because if you don't have any challenge, if everything is just fine for you, then you will already be where you are today, which is why you might not need a coach. But of course, we understand that we do need them. All right, just so I can give a kind of a small touch on book 2, where we actually talked about the concept of storytelling. I want to touch on what I call how to create conflict in your story. I just want to read a few lines for you. As you already read the book, otherwise you would understand where I'm just picking up from, which is, by now you already understand that without conflict, you would have much of a narrative to tell. Your reader will want to follow a character journey, which include inner conflict or conflict with the external world. And to create conflict in your story, you need to pay attention to the following tips. Number 1, decide the kind of conflict for your story. As we have already discussed, there are 3 main types of conflict: person versus person, person versus nature, and person versus self. So see what might work better for you or the story that you are telling. Now, number 2 in that line would be, what does your character want or stand for? In stories, conflict is created when something prevents your character from getting what they want. One way to wrap up the drama is by turning this into an obsession that they cannot shake. As they deal with it, the audience get more excited and invest more in the story. Then number 3 will be, create character with opposing value. Make sure to create a contrast between your character value. Don't just make them good, for example, but make sure one of them is at least on the opposing side. That is the end of the reading there. What I just want to point out by reading that small part is that life is not just simple all through. We have the up and down. We have the undulating part. Sometimes it is up, some other time it is down. Our ability to be able to navigate this complex structure we call life is what really makes it meaningful at the end of the day. That is why the audience listens to us, because we tell them our life, which is not just straightforward. Sometimes it's down, sometimes it's up. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are sad. But how do we manage to navigate all of it and come out at the end of the day? the lesson that we have learned become a treasure for other people. All right, with that, I pass the mic to Mr. Annie. Annie, I believe you have something to say about storytelling, about conflict in storytelling. Please go ahead, take it up from here.
These are making my notes. So amazing things you shared there, Obehi. Thank you so much. It's clear when someone knows what they're talking about. Obehi's books really do cover storytelling and make it applicable and practical for us to use. That's why I guess I do what I do. So I'll come back to some of the points that Obehi made, which I think is useful to emphasize, and certainly what I find in business as a marketer. So I'm Enyo Sung. So I run a marketing agency. I'm based in the UK. I grew up in Nigeria and then came back here. So I've got this culture mix, which is interesting. It includes great food, so I can't complain. The food is important to me. So my okra soup later on it'll go down very well. It always does. Every Nigerian knows what I'm talking about. It's one of the perks of being Nigerian by culture. So before I carry on, let me do some more welcomes before my time runs out. I'm always panicked by how many people in the room and how I get to welcome everyone. Mr. Islam, how are you doing, my friend? I see you. Great to have you here as always. So Islam is a sales and marketing legend. So I do an audio room with him on Fridays. On Friday, if you want to join us, connect with him, and then let's come and join our party. That was an interesting chat. I had to do B2B marketing. So Colette, thank you. Christian, so Daniel, Eunice, Boule, hopefully I pronounced your name properly. If I didn't, Dr. Moanga, thank you so much for spending your time with us. So Josh, I see you too, my friend. So Gaisu, Frankie, Abubakar, thank you so much, all of you. So that's a pleasure to have you all here. And that's Obehi said, we want to learn from you. So please don't be shy. Raise your hand, come and talk to us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic, your experiences, and your gems. Let me talk about this conflict in storytelling. I guess conflict sounds like a battle, but that's when I look at it like as a drama. And every story is a drama, really. It's like a TV program. Something must happen for you to care. Suddenly raise your blood pressure. That way you care what's going to happen next. Whether someone's chasing someone, whether someone is stalking someone, whether someone is shooting someone else. So there's always drama. As Obehi said, you have to create that drama in your stories that you tell in your business. Without that drama, then essentially nothing happens. I love how you mentioned the coach, Obehi, earlier on, right? You said as a marketer, the hardest people to sell, they're coaches. There's two I can't sell very well. I put my hands up. I can't sell coaches. I can't sell accountants. Simply because they are so vague in what they can do for you. They don't tell stories with drama. You might hear a story about this person. They were going to pay the tax man too much money, but I saved them some money in that process. But essentially, most coaches they tell you the good parts. I take like you said, Obehi, I take you on a journey on how to run a business. It sounds good. Maybe deep down we know what that means, but is that really a problem that we have today? We don't know. We may do, but they're just not clear enough. We need to. My clients who are coaches need to be a lot clearer. That creates a conflict, a tension, a problem that resonates with us, that resonates with the listener. When you so the whole point of this conflict issue that we're talking about today is to create an issue in the listener's mind. So that way the listener knows, okay, here's the problem they solve. Here's the problem they can address. Here's the people that they work with. They get me. So the conflict really goes a long way to really suggest to the listener that we solve problems. We know what your problems are. We know which problems really are really important to you. More importantly, when you get the conflict side right, when you can explain the situations that we help with, suddenly it creates the platform to manage that conflict, like Obehi said. And guess what? Guess how you manage conflicts in business settings or business stories? It's always by saying, "I can help you with that." In other words, like, you are the solution to their problem. You are the solution to the drama. Alas, we don't say we are the solution to the drama because to make ourselves the stars. We say we're the solution. We have the solution to your situation, to your drama, to your pain, and that way you can solve your own problem. You can be the star to your customers. You can be the star to your friends, to your family, to anyone who's looking at you. So trying to get this balance right between the conflicts that we talk about that must resonate, and then making sure we offer a solution is what actually gets people to buy from us. If you don't create that conflict, then there's no problem that they can buy your solution for. Like I said earlier, a lot of people miss the point that they don't emphasize with clarity what the problem is that they actually help you with. So when you can be explicit about that problem, it shows you, the listener, that you understand. You are on the side. You get them. You know their priority. You know what really hurts them. You know what they're really struggling with. You know what they prioritize. And more than that, you have the solution. I could talk all day about this conflict situation over here, so I'll pass the mic back to you to pass on to one of our speakers.
Thank you for that, Annie. Yeah, we got the time for ourselves. We're going to explore it today. Conflict is actually at the centerpiece of any storytelling. If it's going to be a successful storytelling anyway, if you remember now, in time, of course, I grew up in a village, so I understand the value of storytelling well enough. Having to join other children, listening to the story of elders who are telling us all type of story, particularly those stories that you tell to children of monster. In my language, monster will mean Odudu. So, of course, I have never seen Odudu in my entire life, but this is an image that is well crafted and is in our head as little children. Now, as the storyteller begins to tell you of an event, you have the obstacle that the character or the protagonist is going to overcome. And usually it does overcome it after passing through a treacherous road. And there will usually come the moral lesson. So even at the level of little kids in the village, I could see how valuable that was for us at the time. So conflict is absolutely vital for a story to hold. All right, we have another co-host, a very good one for that. That is Hannah. It is your time. We want to learn from you how you are taking this conversation today. Conflict storytelling.
Yes, thank you so much, Obehi. Thank you so much, Annie. Hi, Abimbola. You've been off and on, but welcome back. I gotta say, I love this event because it's something that I particularly love. And I say it all the time, but it's true. It's who I am. Storytelling is what I am. It's my purpose. And so I love having this conversation. It's what drives me. It's what spurs me. A big welcome to everyone in the audience because I see a lot of familiar faces. I see Abu. I see Olaolu. Hi, guys. How are you? Everyone, welcome. For anyone that doesn't know me, my name is Hannah Dachaba and I am a brand storyteller. So what that means is I help brands to craft their content in ways that connect, engage with their target markets. And storytelling plays a huge role in everything that I do as a content writer slash copywriter and digital marketer. Yes, I have a lot of hats to my name, but yeah, that's what makes me me, right? But to the gist of the conversation today, conflict. I will start by saying that to me, I believe that conflict is not complete if there is no resolution. I want to start by that. And I also want to talk about how important conflict is in storytelling. It plays such a crucial role in storytelling because it creates tension. But that's not it. I mean, what is tension? Why do you want people to be tensed? Why do you want your readers to be tensed? It's good because what that does is when there's tension, people are interested. You're picking people's attention. People want to engage. People want to know, okay, what are you on about? I want to know how this ends. I want to know how this conflict ends at the end of the story. So that's good. You need the attention. You need people to be interested. That's the whole essence of having like a good crafted story. I also want to say that to get people invested and interested in your story, you want to speak on the conflicts, and you also want to lay down the challenges that whether it's your antagonist or protagonist in your story have. So, what are the challenges? Are they having issues? Are they having problems? That's a good way to create conflicts. But I also want to say that to bring it back home to something that we might all maybe understand, here on LinkedIn, a lot of creators use conflict, unbeknownst to maybe some people listening today. And how do they do that? A popular example is when you see a lot of LinkedIn copy and they start with a problem. I'll give you an instance. So they might say something like, more companies are letting go of their in-house writers and replacing them with AI. That piques your interest. If you're a writer, that immediately piques your interest. You want to know whether or not you're going to lose your job. But that's a form of conflict, because what that means is you want to know what the resolution would be about. You are interested at that moment about what the copy, about what the creator is saying. And so I'm going to end by saying that every good conflict builds up to a resolution. It should provide a satisfying conclusion. So, yes, conflict is such a good tool, but if there's no resolve, then it's a waste of a tool. So, try to tie in, just like Annie was saying quite earlier on, about you placing and positioning yourself as the resolve. That's a good approach. But every good conflict should build to a resolution. So there are a lot of tactics in copywriting and content writing. A lot of people speak about copywriting and just creating content online, and they think it's just it should be easy. But there's a lot of work that goes into crafting a good, compelling story, and not just a good, compelling story, but one that is a good, compelling brand story. Now that's another ball game entirely. You want to be sending me a message, reach out to me, and I'll be sure to respond. I want to say a big thank you once again to Obehi for giving me this platform. It's been amazing. It's always a pleasure to be here. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you so much, Anna. Of course, you are here. You are going nowhere. We are going to be listening to you. You know, your voice is super. So we like to hear all this different journey about storytelling, because we all need it. We all need it. We need it because it's part of life. So it's just good enough that we learn how to leverage it more in our business. And of course, like I was just alluding in the opening, there are different types of conflict that we can leverage in storytelling. Of course, we're going to be going into that. I am no longer the one speaking. So we have some people who have decided to join us because they have something to share with us, and we love that. That is the most interesting part of it. So, before then, I think Abimbola, our co-host, will have an issue coming in.
Hi everyone, I hope you are all having a great day there. I am into sales actually. So I've been in sales like last 2 years. In my sense, like with regards to the topic, the role of conflicts in storytelling, what I faced as a newbie in sales was that like whenever I went into any meeting, it was very hard for me at first to convey the to convey whatever to pitch in the product, and also it was very hard for me at the beginning. So later on, I myself developed some techniques regarding to it. Just like what I did was like I created a few cards wherein I plot out the phases of my conversation with the clients. So it was like 4 to 5 phases was there, 4 to 5 pieces of cards. And in each card, what I used to do was like I used to phase out, like intro, what I should say, what all content should I focus on, and what should be the end of it. Like at the end of the conversation, how should the client feel emotionally also. So I started trying this method in the beginning. So I failed a couple of times actually in the beginning. The main issue was like I was not thinking about the conflicts. Like in any storytelling, there are critical elements, right? There are critical elements that would be external as well as internal. When it comes to product selling and all, there are some internal conflicts, like there would be some downfalls like within the products itself. And also there are like points that would be noted down by our clients, like questions with regards to the products and all, right? So after understanding this situation, what I did was like I plotted out all the issues and all the conflict that can be asked, and that can actually affect my storytelling. And I created like in case of like 4 cards, I created like 5 to 10 cards, and I started giving them the solutions. Like I started writing down the solutions, and after that I tried my storytelling, and I should say that it happens like magical. Like all of the meeting after that which I attended, everyone was so much interested in what I pitched in, because actually I was solving their issues actually from A to B, from what he said, like Obehi, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah, so like he said, like from A to B, B to C, C to D, each of the direction, each conflicts, each questions I plotted down, and I started telling the story in a way that is attractive, that is more thoughtful, and also that solve most of their issues. So I think conflicts have a greater role in storytelling. So that's my take on this. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for that. There is a lot of value there. All right, now we move to Nicola. Now, Nicola, it's your turn. Please share with us within the conflict storytelling. What do you want us to
You look
learn?
like you've lost some weight. I've just been thinking and listening to all these different people and how people express, the positives of the role of conflicts in storytelling. And for me, and I don't want to bring a downer on anything, and that's not my intention, but the word conflict, uh, brings up a sense of negativity, and same as confrontation. And as you know, and a few people in this room most likely, I speak in Ennies and other co-hosts for the Faith in Business. I'm a Christian basically, and I've been reading the Good Book and listening to the Good Book for a fair few years now. And there are many conflicts in the Bible, and there's many um, resolutions. And I'm a big believer in Jesus, so I don't see the need for pain, suffering, and conflict anymore. But I think that there is you know a sense of needing to um, bring things to a close, or battle something out until you reach a solution, or you know some people, conflict doesn't necessarily have to. You can soften it, and you can adapt it, and it doesn't have to be a conflict. But obviously sometimes it's important to have a look at the roots of something. And when you bring it down into its basic form, without your imagination, without your thought, without a team of people, without money, without love, if you bring it down into its purest form, it might actually be um, friction. It might be conflict. It might be anger, or something that you know that we need to address, or that we need to be aware of. Um, and so therefore, I would be more along the lines of bringing peace into a situation, and a happier side of a situation. But there is obviously um, a need for somewhere in life. Now, this I think belongs in history, but conflict. There is obviously a need for conflict, but I've never really found it. Thank you. I'll yield my mic.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I would be yielding the mic to Tonye, if I pronounce your name right.
Yes, you
Hi, Tonya.
did. Good morning, everybody here in the US of A. I actually was just sitting back in the audience listening in because this was an interesting um, thought process regarding conflict, as it pertains to storytelling. And my contribution would be to the fact that, conflict, at the root of it for me, regardless of whether it's in the workplace or in society at large, is there's a communication aspect of that. There's something there that needs, that requires resolution, that requires some kind of growth, be it negative or positive. And but I don't believe that conflict is necessarily um important for in order for a storytelling to be effective. It's a good point for relatability because we as humans, we always have points of contention or what have you, and that makes whatever we're trying to communicate, that makes it relatable because everyone understands that we all experience conflict in one shape or in one form or another as we move on this plane of existence. So I think that's conflict has a place to some degree in the human experience, but not necessarily required. I don't personally like conflict. I see it a lot of times as a negative aspect, even when it comes to storytelling. I'm very restrictive in terms of how I set boundaries around conflict and using it in a storytelling process. I'm a women's health coach, and at the root of some of their issues, clients' issues are, there's conflict, but there are different reasons for it. A lot of it has, like I said before, is rooted in miscommunication or, inadequate boundary setting or something of that nature. But um, it's part of the human condition, and it's something we all need to have the right tools and strategies in order to navigate it effectively and come out with a positive outcome as much as possible. So this is a great conversation. I just happy to offer my thoughts on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, give me 1 second. Let me do some more welcomes. The room, the audience has changed. So, Sonia, I see you. Emmanuel, thank you for joining us. Annabelle, Mervyn, Bright, Alison, Lillian. How you doing, Lillian? Glad you're here. Nana, Paul. So, Joan, I see you. Miss Amber, how you doing? Jennifer, Paul, Dentist. Thank you so much. Ijeoma, Olua Kemi, how you doing? I'm glad you're here. Victoria, Kelly, long time. I haven't seen you in my room for a long, long time. I'm glad you're here, though. Emmanuel, Kibitsway, Abidemi, I'm glad you're all here. Look, and I think that your comments, Tonya, was very similar to Nicholas. Here's the thing I would say: don't take the word conflict too literally. In a storytelling sense, the word conflict, as Khalil explained beautifully, essentially it's about the problem that your client has. Doesn't mean war, doesn't mean murder, doesn't mean a crime. Essentially, it's about creating a situation where you emphasize the issue your client has and then create a strategy to solve those issues. Conflict is merely a way to describe how we create that tension. Conflict. So the introduction to your story. There's conflict. There's a solution, and then there's a hero. So that's the basic element of storytelling. Let's not tonight. We're not saying let's create war in all our stories. We're saying just communicate to your clients the problems you solve. I say, Khalid's point was very well made in the sense that you can be very strategic about how you use the word conflict. Now you can sit down and think, right, what's my client's problems? What problems do we solve for our clients? So that obviously then you have a list of your solutions. Then take a step back and think, right, what do our clients call us for us to say this is a solution to your problem? That's what conflict means in this case. It's not the true sense of let's go and have a fight with anyone. I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does. Thank you so much for that, Tenny. I like the reaction though. It is very interesting because that is why we are here. We need to talk. We need to reflect. See, well, I'm not going to be repeating what Annie has already said, but I just want to point out that this actually the normal cause life. Yes, we're not talking about war. We're not talking about like throwing blow and start insulting each other. It just is set up. That is how life is set up. Now, I don't remember. I don't know if there is any one of you that enjoy going to a movie. I can guarantee you that if you go to a movie and there is no conflict in the movie, you are not going. You are probably going to ask for your money back. This is how the human brain just work. The other day, I was interviewing a visual artist who have worked in a very big budget film. Then, okay, my conversations sometimes are very deep when I do interview in my podcast. So I was asking this Canadian visual artist. Now, you have worked in big budget film like Transformer, the Jurassic Park. You create visual effect, and of course, this is mixed with sound effect. Both you and I, we know that what you're saying is not really true, no? If you watch Transformer, you know what I'm talking about. The alien never really came and started marching on the street of New York like that. We know that it never happened. But we enjoy it. That is how we function, no? And if we create that story, take away the conflict, that story is going to be flat. Nobody's going to be interested because human being, we are not just born and we have everything just in front of us. The car just stack out for us. And you ask for A, you get A. You ask for B, you get B. No, you need something, yes, but you don't have what you need right now. Why? Because there is a conflict. There is something standing between where you are right now and that thing you want or that place you want to be. That is a conflict. You need to resolve it. Sometimes you cannot resolve it alone, so you need help. I just want you to see that as a picture. Now, I think Hannah said something also very important that when you have conflict, it's also very important to remember the resolution. That is very important because that is how we help our people, our audience, our business, people that are patronizing us in our business or what we do. Because if it is just to talk about conflict, right, at the end of the day, it's not going to make sense. But if the point is that your audience need to move from where they are to where they need to be, your job is to help them understand the how. You are really there for the how. That is how it works. I think it is very natural. So thank you so much again, all of you. And because we have more people to speak there, I just want to introduce some of the topics that we are going to be reflecting on so that you can choose to speak on this or reflect generally about the topic of the importance of conflict storytelling. One would be, how does conflict add to the effectiveness of a business story? Number two is, how do you use conflict in your storytelling? And number three would be, are there some examples of businesses out there that have perfectly leveraged conflict in their story or in their business communication? So let's reflect about that. Of course, for those who have not spoken, I think Whitney Lawrence have not spoken. Tammy, okay, now Tammy, it's your turn. Say something about the topic or about something generally about conflict storytelling. Please go ahead.
Thank you for inviting me to speak. I appreciate all the insight that is brought here today, and it's been really, really great to hear such expertise. So to add on, I think every person who has read a really great book, every single book has a conflict in it, and that's what really makes it great. You see this hero, and this hero needs to go through some difficulties, and then we're so like our heart kind of soars for the conflict that they went through and how well they got through that. But even deeper than that, when we're serving our clients have an issue, they have conflict in their lives, and we don't want to see the pain that they have gone through because we feel for them. We feel sad for their difficulties that make life difficult for them. And I think that's where our pain gets in the way of realizing and remembering how important pain is for growth. Not that people should have to feel lots and lots of pain, but if you don't connect with pain, you don't connect with progress. And that's a problem that, as if you're a coach or if you're serving your clients, sometimes your clients are motivated because they know they need to make a change, but they forgot some of the pain that they feel because you're making them feel good. You're helping them to see the good things that they do, and you're like, wow, you do a lot of things well, and then they forget there are some things that they need to do to make changes to get to where they want to go. And that's what creates the need and urgency for us to buy things also, right? That we need to purchase to resolve the difficulties within our life. It helps us to set priorities in mind and get it straight. We want people to experience pleasure and joy and enjoyment, but to get there, we have to take that journey with them.
Thank you so much, Tammy, for your wonderful contribution. I will be yielding the mic to Wilson. Hi, Wilson. What do you have for us today?
Hello, sorry. Yeah, I apologize for joining the event late. I was actually coaching a client, and the amazing thing is that we're talking about storytelling being divisive in how we can serve our clients, and without knowing what the content generally was in the room today, I had to tell a story to a client of mine today about where he had come from and what he was like. And it started very Jackanory, like, once upon a time, there was this young man who was happy-go-lucky. He was a bit of a loser. Okay, and then I took him through this story, which was the transformation of where he'd come from 9 months ago to where he is now. And he's made fantastic results and progress, but he's in a place now where he has plateaued. So I had to take him back to the pain point. And in order for me to do that, it just happened automatically. So in order to do that, I thought, well, the best way is to tell him a story about this guy called Kieran. We went back to his pain points, and then the end of the story was, I mean, it's a little bit childish, but he lived happily ever after because he was getting the results he was happy with, and he just went on from one height to the next height. So what I wanted to do was, I also don't like the term conflict because I've been in the military and I've seen a lot of conflict. There's conflict in my family, so I guess it's a pejorative term. But what I like is the term tension. You create tension because tension, I believe, is something that always is seeking resolution. It's like that lost animal, isn't it? That's looking, it gets separated from its parents or from its herd, and it's looking to get back. And that's what tension is. And if we can guide that tension, I believe, through storytelling in the right direction, we're going to help that person to find the resolution and move on to the next step. And that's all I have to say.
I love how you use storytelling to explain a complex topic and simplify it for your clients. And I think that's what this is what storytelling does for all of us. It's about trying to appeal to people on a level that they understand. Whatever we call attention storytelling now, we'll go with you, but essentially it's learning not just focus on saying things literally and hoping people understand. You have to find a way that's more engaging, that's more elaborate almost. However simple. Literally, as long as we can say things that resonate, then we'll have to keep trying. Thankfully, Obehi's books breaks down how you use what you call attention. For sure, Wilson, I hear you. We call attention too sometimes. I tend to call it a pain point. It's about pain points, really. What do your clients struggle with? And how do you explain to them that you are the solution? You have the answer. Like I said right at the beginning, you have to explain that you get them. and that you get them so much that how you've been here before, you know what you're talking about, you know how to fix the problem, you can help them. Much like Tammy said, that's when they get the checkbooks out and start paying you. That's a joy of being in business. If you don't learn to tell stories in business, don't be surprised when people say, "I don't get it," or maybe you can't help me. Nothing worse than leaving your listeners, your audience, potential clients confused. When you can confer to them that very simply, "I get you, I can help you, let's do business together," and your problem will go away. They spend more money. That's how the world works. Thank you very much, Wilson. You're a star, my friend, always, always. Angelica, please. I think you're next on my list.
Thank you, Annie, for letting me speak. Appreciate being here. Yeah, the everybody has such great comments on storytelling and how effective it is when you add the role of conflict, of course. And agree that when you add a situation that might have happened, let's say that uh, somebody's having a problem with someone else at work, they can in the story talk about a person who had this problem and how the person felt. You go through the whole character thing of the two different characters, but you talk about how the person solved the problem at work, the different steps that they took. Um, it helps when you make the characters interesting as well. But like mentioned earlier, whenever you add story to a conflict, the person's going to want to continue listening. And I work with children, and I know when a book is a good book when I'm holding the book and the children say, "Turn to the next page." They want to keep hearing the story, and so that's what we want to do when we're talking about how to solve a problem at whether it be at work or in business. So I just want to briefly mention it's very important to have that because I know all in business you always are going to have some sort of a conflict. If you don't have a conflict in business, something's going wrong. Everybody has it. It's like to be expected. So the stories that we tell on how we solved it and the way that we tell it, the characters that we use, all of that has something to do with making the story more interesting. So back over to you, Annie. Thank you.
I couldn't agree with you more, Angelica. It's almost like without that conflict, without that tension, without that pain point, why do you exist as a business? What are you here for? Who needs you when there's nothing to solve? Why do people spend money to solve problems? If you don't solve a problem, I'm seriously asking, why do you exist? I had a team meeting with my team this morning, and I said to them, right, we exist for this reason. Here's the problems we solve. I can't imagine doing a team meeting and saying, the world's so glorious, no one needs us, but we're going to be here and charge them money anyway. It doesn't work. We're here for a reason, and every business works on people's problems. If you don't solve a problem, can't communicate that problem in their story, then you're going to struggle to sell. That's the long and short of it. Fumi, I see you. Mr. Tiwari, I see you too, my friend. Monsalise, how you doing? Dr. Marcia, thanks for joining us. Nana, I'm glad you're here. Kachuku, CC, Danielle, Jeffrey, Eric, Nancy, how you doing as well? Mohammed, Shauna, thanks for joining us, all of you. So we've got a huge room. So thank you so much for those who have spoken to us so far. So we're talking about storytelling and how to use conflict in your storytelling. Let's hear from some more people who are going to share some of their gems about how to use conflict, tension, say pain points, call it what you like, to get people to understand that they can solve their problems. I think Victoria is next. Victoria, the mic is yours.
So I just wanted to share in terms of how I use conflict in storytelling, and just from a reflection, and it's been mentioned by a couple of speakers along the way. It's in putting together um, like the messaging house for like especially blog creation for either clients or for myself. I've been on this mission to saying to everybody, listen, beyond social media, we need to go back to having websites and things like that. So personally, I've taken on that role of building my own website. And then now I was stuck in that what content am I putting out? And just today I started asking the questions. And I think we already said earlier when we speak about what are the pain points that people are asking us all the time. And I use that as a foundation to start building out the content that I resonate with, that does solve problems for its clients or the audience that will be reading my content. So that's how I then use that conflict in going, what are the issues that as a strategic comms consultant that I've had to deal with this in the past 6 months, and then how do I then break it down to say, okay, from this is like a blog content or a video content that I can do, and I realized actually when I was going through that process, it's how I've literally been telling clients in terms of content marketing how to do it. We go, what are the pain points um, we are solving, and then also when we do value content, you ensure that that content response, like that content feeds to that, so that we're not just selling to the audience, but they come back to our websites, they come back to our blogs, they come back to our YouTube channels, because they get something out of there and they remember us, and we stay top of mind. So that's how conflict has worked, in how I've just created content from a perspective, and therefore assisting in terms of the overall marketing journey until you get leads. So I just wanted to share that with the room.
For those of you who are interested in storytelling, who want to dive deeper into the topic, I've written 5 books from where we are actually talking. These 5 books are on Amazon, so you can go there and pick any of them up to read, and of course share with me what you have learned from it, or what is your perspective. Have you gone through the material? Is from over 10 years of experience working with different people, interviewing people basically, and listening to different experts on the topic of storytelling, just putting their story together. It has been my research here in Northern Italy. I am extremely passionate about it because I believe that storytelling, or the sharing of our story, is the most powerful instrument in the world. So we better learn how to use it.
I guess I want maybe just to reiterate the point that Khalil, I think Tammy made. Tammy, yeah, I think it was no, Tokiso made just now. I think that the trick for all of us is to sit down and use the conflict situations that we help with strategically. Yeah, so a lot of us end up we are called to tell stories almost almost accidentally. Whether you have to write a post, or what do I write about? As Hannah mentioned earlier, so do I start with a topic that's controversial, or whereas now I think we can be a lot more strategic. You can sit down and literally you can prepare your stories and then practice those stories. That way, by the time you deliver the stories to people, by the time you actually tell those stories, it was like, one, it comes out more naturally. Two, you've thought about what you're going to say before the time comes. I'm not the best to think on my feet. So literally, I wouldn't. I'd rather have a set of stories prepared, and then that way I know what I'm going to say, and you don't just tell the story, but you tell it in a way that's engaged, in a way that's almost beautiful. So I hope that makes sense. Okay.
It makes a lot of sense. All right, we have Victoria back again. I think, Victoria, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, so actually, the other times I was trying to speak, but I was using a different device, so I was finding it hard to unmute. So I've been learning a lot from what everyone has been sharing, and it's been interesting listening to different perspectives. What I wanted to say when I raised my hand is probably going to be me echoing much of what Eni Osung already said. Like, like I wanted to say that how we use conflict in storytelling, especially like someone asked something about how we use it in business, is something that helps us to establish an emotional connection with the people that we are trying to reach. There is a difference between just talking about like saying discussing theories about the challenges that people are going through and then talking about a real story of a real person that they can connect to and they can see themselves in those stories. So there is something about it that makes them emotionally drawn to the story, that as the person introduces the solution, then they can see that, okay, this is also possible for them. If this person could go from this challenge to this solution, to this resolution, so this is possible for them. And that's a way to use storytelling in business. And it's at that point that someone can introduce a product or a service or whatever it is. And I really think that those that were talking about storytelling having a negative connotation is because, like maybe they are just taking conflict literally without thinking about, what conflict means in terms of literature and all. So it's basically the challenges that people face when trying to achieve a goal. Maybe like someone is trying to, maybe someone started a business and maybe they had challenges trying to get clients, that place of their struggles. Let's look at it as the climax. That's basically what conflict is all about. And then when the solution is finally achieved, when the obstacles are conquered, the challenges are overcome, that's the resolution and that's like the outcome. So that's what I wanted to add.
That is so valuable, Victoria, and I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you for that. Uh, Anna, Anna is a co-host, and she's very good at that, actually. Yeah. First of all, I want to say, Annie say he's sorry he have to do some other things just now, so saying his greeting to all of you. Because time is usually what it is, and because the room is so interesting, that is why we just prolong it for a few more minutes. So he said his greeting to all of you. All right, Hannah, what would you say about how you use conflict in storytelling? What can you teach us
Thank
about
you so
that?
much, Obehi. And I don't know if it's just me, but there's been so much value coming from everyone that has spoken today. I've absolutely loved the session today. It's just been so, I don't know, knowledgeable because I came with an open mind, and I love that I'm able to, peek and hear everyone's thoughts. But for me, when I think about conflict in storytelling, I think about the fact that conflict is just one out of many tools in storytelling, and it's as old as time. I remember, just like Victoria said earlier about literature, I remember being exposed to conflict in literature. That was my first exposure to conflict, and the other times in literature. The theme, the plots, these are the things that make a story what it is today. And when you hear about the protagonist, the antagonist, these are words, these are terms that for me, I feel like when you have been into literature, you would hear it so many times. But I will say this, conflict is just one of the many tools. There is the tool of emotional connection, there's the surprise element, there is the shock element, and then there's the conflict element. What you want to do as a content creator in business as a whole is you want to attract your target market. You want to pique the interest of your target market. And that's where conflict comes into place. It's saying, I see you and I hear you. It's saying, I can 100% relate to what you're going through. And if I'm a customer, I want somebody who can handle the issues that I'm facing, whether it's little engagements, whether it's more sales. You want to hand over your business to somebody that is well equipped to help out with that. So for me, I say conflict is just one of the many elements, but it has its advantages because, like I said, it helps with picking interest. It helps in the attraction. You want people to stop and look. You want people to scroll past and stop on your whether it's your written content or your video content. You want people to first of all have that interest in what you're saying. And so you can make use of so many elements. We talk about that all the time here in this group. We shed light on a lot of elements in storytelling. And I'm so happy that today we're speaking about conflict. So have a look at, first of all, how can I pique the interest of my target market? And if you want to use the conflict tool, good on you. If you want to use the shock tool, the shock element, good on you. If you want to use the emotional element, good on you. But conflict comes into play, just like I said, just to wrap it up. Conflict comes into play to say, I see you and I hear you. And for me, it's done wonders to a lot of businesses because a lot of people trust you more. There's the relatability, and trust is such a big, big tool in business. So when people can trust you, I mean, it would do wonders to your business. I just wanted to end by saying that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. That is really highly valuable. And of course, yeah, we're going to talk about conflict forever. And if we are talking about storytelling, I dedicated a lot of time to that in this 5-part book series because it's absolutely fundamental. Without it, nobody will read our story. I really want to repeat that again because if your story has no conflict, that is a flat story. Does it really drag anything? It is really said that if you want to apply conflict in your story, the best way to apply it, of course, talking of purely literary work, you are going to put your character in the danger. Don't really just you are really put it between life and death. That is where people are going to be moving to the edge of their seat. Have you ever go to that film hall or to a movie where you are not sitting in the center of your chair, you are moving to the edge of it? That is where you know a good story is being told. Either you are transported into the life of the life of the character who is passing through a situation. As the character is falling, you are equally falling. As it's rising, you are rising. This is the power of storytelling. If you remove that element there, that danger that the character is facing, that conflict where you are not sure whether he or she is going to survive or die, you have no reason watching that story. It look like data. There are 5 people, 10 people, yes, but what really happened? So conflict is an element that we cannot ignore. It is vital, it is sacrosanct, it is fundamental for any successful story.
Sure. My name is Eric Sonnabend, and I'm the founder of a company, My Ride. And like everyone, you can imagine, you've only got so much time. And what I realized is that if I created stories that I could tell, and create a streaming platform for those stories, and I could bake into those stories the all of the characters that are in our story are people that we've actually taken from people that we want to build relationships with, and we tell a story about them and their spouse and their children and their pets, and all of these characters have got the bottom falling out of their life and have got conflict. And my strategy has been, if you tell a emotional, compelling story um, about characters that people like and want to follow, then you can use that opportunity to educate them about anything in business that you seek. In my particular case, I'm trying to educate people about self-driving car technology. But I realized that if we talked about the tech, we're going to put everyone to sleep. So at the center of the story are character driven. These are character driven stories, emotional stories that empower, and it's filled with conflict. You just can't have a compelling story if you're going to have someone sitting to get them to sit on the edge of their seat. You have to care about the characters, and you have to care about their journey and want to follow them and be rooting for them. And that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. That is really interesting. It is highly valuable. I appreciate that. All right, time is not always our enemy. We are moving towards it. I just want to remind us that we are recording the room so that other people can listen to it because you guys are sharing highly valuable information here. I appreciate it. Every single one of you. I thank all of you. All right, Abibola, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I would say that the role of conflict in storytelling is actually is an interesting one. It's not really something that we can take away. Fine, there are we can tell stories without introducing conflict. But if we think about maybe memorable books of fiction that we've read and a lot of things, or maybe autobiographies and all, one of the things that make them memorable is the process from the conflict to the resolution. And when I'm using storytelling in copy or maybe content, one of the things I do, like starting with that point of conflict or the climax, is a way to get people interested, like introducing tension and then maybe going back, to go and tell like how it started and then proceeding again to the resolution is a very good technique for getting people interested at the very start of coming across the story. And that is why arts that have stories, they perform well, most times better than the others. Long form sales copy that have stories, they perform well. Even we see it even here on LinkedIn. Stories are the things that have the tendencies to go viral and all of that. So I think it's really, really important. While it's not the only technique, conflict is a very important tool to use in storytelling because it's an end to an it can help us to reach the means, like the goal that we have. So it's a means to an end.
Thank you so much, Victoria. All right, it's time to Tonien Barango. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. I really apologize from the depth of my heart. Please, save some in 50 seconds. What would be your final thought here? Maybe a reflection or a message you want to leave the audience with.
Just a quick reflection. And by the way, you got my name correct. Thank God. But say is that
Thank you, sister. I'm happy about that.
oh yes, definitely, much appreciated. I really love this conversation. It's great to have these kind of discussions, especially when it comes to tools for connecting with clients. And this is just one of them. I don't use it a lot because I'm in healthcare, and so it tends to, in a lot of instances, shut off my clients. So I use a different um, tool in my toolkit, but I see the power of conflict, and there's always, not every tool for the same problem, right? And that's my key takeaway here. Not every, not the same. You don't necessarily need the same tool for every problem out there because depending on what the problem is, you have to use a different, tool. So definitely appreciate this insight that everybody shared today, and I look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. The next one is a guarantee. Always time for that. All right, Mr. Whitson, I love to hear from you. This is your turn. 50 seconds.
Sorry, okay, I nearly missed that one. So, what I've learned here, an idea that I've got, is that I'm going to go back through my success stories with my clients, and I'm going to actually post them as stories with fictitious, with made up names on my LinkedIn wall to put where their pain points were, what problems they were having, what pain points they were having, the work that they did, and then the successful end result. And I'm going to do that just to practice how I tell stories.
As people are mentioning on reflection, listening to the people that are speaking, and obviously the audience, it's the emotional connection that springs to my mind. But I don't always agree with that, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure whether how people derive or where the origins of that emotional connection is, and whether we all agree because we all remember things differently. Everybody's memory is different, everybody is different, and so therefore lots of people speak about heart, lots of people speak about cohesion, coherence as well. But we're more than coherence, we're more than comprehension. We're, for me, it's when you have to come down into your heart, it means you're not properly listening in the first place. But that's also under speculation, or for that's also up for discussion, isn't it? So I'm gonna leave us with a thought that maybe we should focus on the beginning, maybe we should focus on the spirit or the lighter side of the area, and make sure that we've built the proper foundations before we drop into our hearts. I yield my mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Nicola. All right, Angelica. Please, 50 seconds. Let's
Hi,
go.
I think that it's important to realize that these conflicts and stories can move us to take action. So when we see a person that has been dealing with the conflict that might be similar to what we're doing, we realize, hey, I need to do something or else I'm going to be in the same situation. I need to move. I need to take action like this person did. And m- um that's my take. Thank you, Obehi.
So just my thought is that beyond just telling people, beyond just using the conflict in the actual story, let's also remember to use conflict in getting the creative juices going. And in that way, I mean, some of the speakers mentioned finding like the positive side, finding the, the connection. So there's power in using conflict behind the scenes and not necessarily always putting it in the story. So that's another way of just using the conflict. So that is my 15 seconds.
Thank you for that. Eric, it's your turn. 50 seconds. Your final thoughts.
Uh, everyone has added such great ideas. I don't know that I have much more to add other than conflict is such an important and powerful tool, and you'll find conflict in all the stories that we're telling, and we what we're really trying to do is leave the world in a better place, and showing the conflict and then the progress that a character makes is just very, very powerful.
Yes, I just wanted to say what basically Abimbola just mentioned about the importance of resolution. In as much as conflict is such an important tool, it's also really, really important to resolve the conflict. And how we resolve conflict is also very, very, very important because you can land a client or you can miss it. So it's a really, really important tool that we need to look at. You need to, you know, just focus on the part of resolve because that's one thing that can make somebody feel connected to you or not. And I also wanted to say, speak to me, is something that I do for a living, and I'll help out. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. It's been such a pleasure being here. Thank you so much, Obehi, and everyone that contributed. Thank you all.
Thank you so much for that. And I thank to all of you that have spoken and those of you that have contributed, and even the audience that are here that have been listening, because without you, we would not be here. So I really thank you from the depth of my heart for being here. And we are here every 2 weeks talking about storytelling. Actually, we are here more than 2 weeks. But this particular session, which is about the series, we are here every 2 weeks. So come around and share with us how you use storytelling in your work. It's not only in business, but even to build your personal influence, you need storytelling. Because I've already said before, also in other room, storytelling is vital because it is important in everything that we do. Whether you are a pastor, you are a politician, you are a leader in your local community, you have a group, irrespective of what you do, in as much you are dealing with human beings, you need storytelling because that is how human beings relate with other human beings. You don't just go around and start flashing numbers. Nobody will take you serious, okay? Yes, you might be very intelligent, but if you are too intelligent to talk about story, then you have lost the human connection. And communication, like they say, is not in you, what is coming out from your mouth. It is in the receiving, the people that are receiving your communication. If they haven't gotten what you have said, then you haven't said anything. You probably just make noise. So it is important that we learn some of these dynamics about storytelling and how to use in our work. So I repeat again, this 5-part book series are available on Amazon. Pick one for yourself, read, and let me know what has been your impression about it and what we can learn from each other. So thanks to all of you again for coming to this session. It has been really a pleasure on my part. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you in the next episode.